Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If you are new, thank you for visiting. If you enjoy this video, you might want to subscribe. Definitely hit the like button. It definitely helps the video get circulation. Comment below what you think about this whole Wade Wilson situation. It's completely inundated YouTube. It's so nuts. I think after a few months past his sentencing, in a short 10-15 minutes from now, it should die down. Those prison phone calls from prison YouTube channel, they just give a lot of people content, especially those that commentate on things like that. The only one that I do watch that is a commentator is Jumpsuit Pablo. He's super funny. Go to his channel. If you click my blog below, I have his link there for his live coverage on the brain scan situation, which was atrocious. So he went live. He does a lot of live things, like an interview with Kiosk Kristen. Yeah, he's done some things like live, but he does a lot of commentary on prison phone calls. He himself has a story, and he's a super cool guy, super funny. So I think you would enjoy it. I love true crime. I, however, typically tend to, I know you guys are probably seeing a glare in my glasses. I tried to shut the blinds here. So the lighting's just not, hi-fi, whatever you want to call it, high resolution. It is what it is. So I just sort of lost my train of thought. See what I mean? See, Wade Wilson has no brain damage. Everybody is just so stressed out that they can't remember from one minute to the next. But yes, this morning he did a live coverage. I think Sidebar and one more channel, I don't know, had it up for his brain scan results that were just done a week ago. Dr. Mark Rubino, a neurologist. He's not a neuropsychiatrist. He is a neurologist. Wade has been seen by psychiatrists, psychologists before. Dr. Mark Rubino even made a statement that he had testified that he had a document, and quite the many documents, from jail. One being from the year prior, so I assume 2023, in that I guess he's seen their mental health services within the jail, and that he was diagnosed with some things like depression. Who's not depressed when they're in jail? I don't know. But he does have a little bit of a background with some mental health issues. That also came from a letter that was read aloud by his defense attorney, or one of his defense attorneys, from his adoptive parents, who have really been his parents his entire life. They took him as a small child. He was actually born Anthony, and then was renamed by his Wilson adoptive parents. So that's where they got Wade Wilson. I don't know if any correlation to the villain and that, but I just, whatever. I would have kept his name Anthony. I mean, it is what it is. So she addresses Wade and his troubled past as a child. She brings up the victims, and that basically they would all be a victim if he was to get sentenced to death. That it wouldn't really serve any good justice to just throw away his life like that, right? So I get it. This is coming from a mother. This is coming from these people raised him, and they're church-going people, and they probably don't believe in the death penalty and all of that. I'm a little indifferent when it comes to the death penalty, because I feel like it could be, like, in some ways, an easy way out. They don't have to live day to day with thinking about what they did, having their limits, and they can't do you know, they can't have a daily life routine that is free. But then again, they still get to see their loved ones, and they still get to have a somewhat connection to the outside, and they still get to have candy, and they still get to have treats. And I don't know, is that a fair punishment either, you know? So it's hard to say. However, I take a liking to true crime. I typically like true crimes that are unsolved. I know that's sad, but I like to go into, like, you know, the who, what, where, when, and why. And here we kind of know the who, what, where, when, and why. It's pretty black and white. He's confessed many times, many different people. He made his father an accessory after the fact right away. His poor father had no choice but to call the cops on him, because he literally made him an accessory after the fact without knowing. I'm sure he's not smart enough to know. Wade is not he doesn't appear to be a smart individual, but he has the wherewithal of what's going on. I will tell you right off the gate, I do not believe he has enough brain damage that impaired him enough to, how would you say, make him not responsible for these crimes. Absolutely not. If he has minimal brain damage from what I could gather. I do have a blog posting and a short video on an article and Mark Rubino's statement, and a video posted about that. There's very minimal, very, very minimal. He was given the MoCA test, which is common in dementia patients. So it focuses on cognitive behavior, impulse, and things like that. So they do a battery of little assessments, you know, the neurologist or neuropsychiatrist. It's like a 10-minute assessment. It's not like any sort of machines do it. It's the trained medical professional and the individual, right? So he was in shackles, and he was being watched by guards. So the doctor kind of made it sound like that was a little bit of an issue for Wade, because at one point Wade says, I can't do this. I think that was just his way of expressing, like, I'm tired of this, I don't want to do it, or maybe really truly was frustrated. I don't think it was that they were watching him. I do believe he probably could have been removed from at least his the shackles on his hands, because there is muscular assessment in that test, and the doctor kind of made a slight point on that. It, you know, they had to move locations because of the guards and whatnot. So basically, he gets tested on visual impairment. So like when someone gets pulled over for DUI or DWI, follow the pen right, follow the pen left, follow the pen up, down, you know, follow the red light. They did say there was some scatter in his eye movement, some snapping, I think he said was the word. Okay. That could be a multitude of things. That could be a nervous thing. That could be a literal eye problem. I don't contribute that to be some significant telltale sign. So he continued on, where you do draw a cube. I did look up the test. You can like print it up. It's very easy. You draw a cube. He drew a square. You draw a clock, and then you put the numbers in order. He put for where noon would go, 12 would go, he put 1. Could those things be fake? Those could easily be faked. Those are easy things to fake. But maybe he really didn't know, you know? I mean, again, that's not cognitive to me. That's just whether you're really paying attention. Do I think Wade possibly has a little bit of ADHD? Considering the behaviors, possible. I just don't see by Dr. Mark Rubino's findings that there was a lot that was impactful. There was a small bit of ventricle damage, where one side was a centimeter shorter than the other, and minimal frontal lobe, which of course impacts decision making and memory and in your ability to control your impulsive acts. Again, very minimal. Wade had mentioned he had been in 2 car accidents, one where he had hit his head directly in a windshield, one where the entire car and everyone in it was knocked out due to hitting a tree. However, both of those events, he either left against medical advice. There is no paper/digital trail on the outcome of those events. So no MRI was done, no x-ray, no radiologic work was done, workups were done on Wade after those incidents. So they get, to me, that means you toss them aside because it's irrelevant. It's like they never happened. As far as sports was concerned, baseball and football, I don't know a kid that doesn't get a concussion even just playing. You'd have to be taking some serious back-to-back concussions over an extended period of time. He played as a child. He wasn't like your high school jock. So, and then he didn't go to the NFL. So he was not taking that kind of abuse in sports. And again, there's no real doctor visits to support that he had a concussion at whatever age. The only correlation and age and thing that he could say to this doctor was at age 11 there was a switch. I felt a switch in myself, and I did tell my parents, quote, I think I'm going crazy. In which, where I would imagine the parents would jump on that and start seeking, medical attention for that. And they said that they did, and that they would send him home, and sometimes they would medicate him, sometimes they wouldn't. And there was no real diagnosis ever given, and that the system failed him, and yada yada. He's a young guy, so mental health has came a long way, especially in certain states. There are states that mental health just isn't up to par, absolutely. But he's of a younger generation. I think he's like in his mid to late 20s now. Or no, he's 30 now. He was in his mid 20s at the time of the crimes, right? So he's 30 now. So when he had these issues, they were considered as recent. Like, look, we had serious across the board, across the country. Mental health was super poor in the 80s and 90s. Once the early 2000s hit and a lot of drugs were hitting the streets, and then we had some catastrophic things happen with terrorism and things like that, mental health started to evolve a little bit more. People became more aware, and certain states did definitely enhance their budget and programs for things. So I don't know how true it is that Wade was just talked to for a brief moment and just shunned away. I don't believe that. I think maybe Wade would go to these appointments and probably not be forthcoming, or maybe not talk at all. And then what do you do with a person like that? When they're not cooperative and they're not forthcoming, you can't just say, well, I think you can't do that. You get sued. So you have to say, well, okay, let's schedule a visit for 2 weeks from today, and let's see how you do, and you try to build a rapport with that person and see how things go. Very quickly, as he got into puberty and teenage years, he started to self-medicate, if that's what you want to call it. Maybe he was on medications that weren't working, or that made him feel super tired and zonked out, because a lot of psychotropics will do that to you. And then what happens is a lot of mentally ill people tend to self-medicate, and they want to feel the opposite of however they felt on these drugs. So they tend to go to uppers, whatever's going to make them feel good. and then it just becomes a cycle. Now, the specific drug that he is known for is crystal, a methamphetamine, which is super, super, super detrimental to the brain when used consistently. Any drug hits the central nervous system like a bulldozer every time you take it. And eventually the body builds a tolerance. The body does get used to it. And so does the brain. Really, the brain is getting used to it, which makes your body feel like it's used to it. It all starts up here. So I fully believe that if there's any real damage, it was self-induced. That's my opinion. I am not a doctor. I am not a board certified neurologist or psychiatrist or forensic toxicologist and pathologist. I am not any of those things. I'm going by past experiences with people, myself, and those that have been close around me, and things that I yes, have studied. And I just don't see it. I just don't see the findings there. I've looked at the scans, and I've looked at the scans compared to people with dementia, compared to people with significant brain damage, compared to people with drug-induced brain damage, compared to people with mental illness that Wade had been diagnosed with at one point was depression. I literally pulled up these scans and tried to see with the notes that were given, and it's not, they're not leveling out. So I honestly believe that's not going to be really good for his defense, because there's not anything real substantial. This hashtag, of Wade Wilson wives and Wade supporters and all of this, which are all women. Now, I'll briefly touch on that the women that we have been known to hear from is Kristen, aka Kiosk Kristen, a drug addict. Also, a criminal due to being a drug addict. I would say the drug addict in her is first, and then the criminal activity is second. And then there was Breezy, which, rest in peace, we have no business talking about her. She is not on this earth anymore. She was found in a horrible way. She had overdosed. Her and her boyfriend were in a vehicle for multiple days on a causeway, decomposing. It's horrible. So for the sake of her family, I'm just gonna say rest in peace. She was a damaged girl. She had a lot of problems. And reaching out to Wade was probably a way to get out of her own head, get a little attention, whatever the case may be. It doesn't really matter. She had her own issues. So those are the two women that have been brought in from this kiosk, that he can get in touch with other people that write him and whatnot and want to be, in his life and do this prison bid with him, with it, whatever. So yeah, I think that he should be held accountable. I just don't know to what degree. So comment below, tell me what you think after hearing about everything I've said, and what do you think his fate's gonna be, and what do you think, if there is any at all, if this brain situation raises any brows in the jury, it could sway them to say life, or it could also give him an in to get an appeal and a whole brand new trial. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, and I think I've covered basically what I wanted to. Click the blog below, you'll get a lot more information, clicks to YouTube videos, where you can see all of this live, and I'm going to see right now what's going on live, and I'll probably just write, because that's what I do best. So check the description box below, and thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out, And I will see you guys in the next one. Ciao.